Playing a drum solo can be a pretty daunting and intimidating thing for some people to do, especially if it's a focused, featured moment with no other accompaniment. Today, I'm going to show you the process that I'm currently going through of coming up with a new solo for a show that I'm about to be a part of, to hopefully give you some new techniques and approaches to utilize if you're ever needing to come up with a solo of your own. Let's get into it. What's up everyone, welcome to Drummer's Perspective. My name is Ben Todd and I'm here to help broaden your scope of what's possible as a drummer. Thanks so much for checking out this video here today. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe, that really does help me out and it lets you know next time I got a video coming out. Now today I want to share with you a bit of an inside look into the process that I'm currently going through of coming up with a new drum solo for a show that I'm about to be a part of in about 3 or 4 weeks time, I think. And this is a solo where all I know is it has to be about 5 to 6 minutes long. It's got to be pretty high energy and engaging for the audience, and it has to be somewhat the same kind of pacing on a night-to-night basis, even though it is completely unaccompanied and it's just me on stage. Now, I should preface this whole thing by saying that this is just my take on doing something like this. There's certainly not a right and wrong way to come up with a solo. It's really up to you and how you like to do it, but I just wanted to share with you my approach to maybe give you some ideas if you're maybe in the same position or you're struggling to come up with some ideas for your solo. Yeah, I hope that this video gives a little bit of insight and guidance into helping you. So, as I mentioned, all I really know about this solo is it's got to be about 5 or 6 minutes, but apart from that I can kind of do whatever I want. Now I want to kind of approach this particular solo in a way where I still have some freedom within it, but at the same point I want to have some pretty clear kind of goalposts to aim for and points that I'm going to hit throughout the solo on a night-to-night basis, just to have something to kind of lead my ideas towards. And then obviously some like climactic points that I want to be able to execute cleanly and consistently night to night. Some choppy stuff that, you know, honestly I haven't, like I said, I haven't had to do in a little while, so it's going to be a little bit of development technically as well. But for now, I just want to start at the beginning and kind of, show you my process in doing this step by step. So as mentioned, I like to leave, a little bit of room for creative ideas and freedom, but not so much that I'm kind of going to be up on stage in front of everybody and scrambling for ideas, because the particular show I'm going to be a part of is a really slick, kind of high energy show, not the kind of thing where you can fumble around for a little bit, searching for things. So I want it to be impactful and high energy, and have obviously shape and dynamics. Give myself, room to experiment with some things night to night. I do know that some people, when they do this kind of thing, they like to write out, everything note for note, which is totally cool, and it's certainly got its time and its place for certain situations. And I've definitely done that in the past as well. But for this kind of thing, I can have a little bit of fun with it, and I want to have fun with it. So I'm going to leave myself some room for interpretation and creativity on a night-to-night basis, but definitely have some specific grooves and specific kind of climactic points that I want to kind of aim for. So when I've done this process in the past, when I've needed to come up with kind of an open, free solo like this, I've really kind of approached it just like a timestamp of where I am as a musician and as a drummer at this point in time. I'm not setting out to come up with the world's best solo or anything that I think might go viral online or anything like that. This is, you're just kind of setting yourself up for failure musically and mentally if you approach something like this. But it is easy to do sometimes. You're given an opportunity and a platform, which I'm so grateful for with this particular show, to have 5 to 6 minutes just to do my thing. I'm really looking forward to that. So, mentally there can be a bit of pressure and anxiety around feeling like you really have to perform and really have to deliver. But it's really important, at least for me anyway, to take a step back and just realize that this is just going to be, a representation of who I am at this particular point in time, and not put too much pressure on it more than that. So at the same point, I'm going to be trying to integrate some ideas and some vocabulary that I'm perhaps not 100% comfortable with right now, but I know is kind of attainable in the next few weeks, just to give myself a challenge and something that I think will be engaging for the audience and for myself, to push me a little bit more. So yeah, it's kind of like many things, doing this kind of thing is all about balance, balancing being challenged with being comfortable and being able to perform at your best and not be too in your head about this kind of thing. So as mentioned, all I really know about this solo, the only real direction I've been given so far is that it has to be about 5 to 6 minutes in length. And looking at the rest of the show, and the original drummers videos, it's high energy, high impact, some kind of it's a showcase moment. So I want it to be impactful and kind of deliver something where the audience is going to really enjoy it. But at the same point, I don't want it to be just like 5 minutes of blazing chops in your face kind of, that's just, we've all seen solos like that, and it's unmusical and it's boring and just not enjoyable to listen to at all. So I want it to be impactful, but I also want to be very conscious of giving it some shape and dynamics and balancing out the energy throughout it as well. Because you think, 5 minutes is not that long, but it's actually quite a long time to just play drums and, make it engaging for the general kind of audience member who might not be a musician or a drummer, so doing intricate choppy things is just going to kind of go over a lot of people's heads and just not sound that good. So again, it's about a balance of things that are fun to play and technically, cool or challenging, but also things that people can kind of relate to and grab onto as a listener as well. So the first thing that I do when I'm coming up with something like this, it's kind of like writing a piece of music or writing a book. When you're kind of given a clean slate, it can be really daunting and intimidating. Like literally, I have my iPad right here with solo ideas, and it's a blank manuscript right now. So looking at that, you kind of think like, okay, what do I do? So again, it's about just taking a step back and thinking like, where am I as a player right now? What do I like to play? What do I think is cool? What do I think the audience is going to like? That kind of thing, and just kind of playing. A lot of times we're in the practice room where it's very important that you're conscious of like using your time effectively and not noodling around too much and not just soloing for the sake of it. But in this particular situation, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. Just kind of playing ideas through. Maybe I'll put a click on and just start playing stuff. And then when I hit on something that I think is cool, I'll make a note of it. And that can either be in written form with words, or it might be actual notation if it's a specific kind of lick or intricate groove that I might want to remember. So yeah, at this point in time, it's just all about coming up with ideas. Putting them all there, not being too judgmental about what might work and might not work, but just getting it all out there and then kind of thinking about filtering through it later. Okay, so right there, that might be something, that kind of bass drum ostinato with the hi-hat, off beats and some tom interplay. I can kind of imagine that being able to be developed a lot and shaped a lot, which I think will be a really cool kind of thing to use as like a groove part of the solo, where I can play a groove that people can lock onto and listen to, but also have some fun with it and kind of build it over a period of time. So now that I have an idea, I'll grab the old iPad, and I've just kind of become a bit of a iPad convert with Fourscore, the app, and the Apple Pencil. So I'm going to be doing a video a little bit later on all about how I use Fourscore with writing charts and using it, things like that. But I just will say for now that I'm a huge convert into this kind of way of writing out music and doing charts and stuff like that. So let's get into it. Hey, so that idea, boom, 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 and the snare backbeat on 3. So I'll just write like boom, 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 ba, something like that, and maybe write, let's see, hi-hat, foot, up, beats. Now these notes are just for me. This is just some stuff to like get out, so I remember it for later. Hi-hat, foot, up, beats, and then like maybe like with tom, interplay. And that's all I need to kind of remember that part of the groove. But so right there, like just experimenting and playing with it more, I hit on that little samba thing, which I've done a few times in other solos before. But that's a really fun kind of groove that you can aim for, potentially. After I build up that first idea a little bit, I can aim for something like that. You can kind of go anywhere with that kind of groove. So from there, I might say like tom interplay, and then maybe it might be like, a thing where it's like build to, samba, snare, groove, floor, on, 2 and 4, that kind of thing. And again, this is probably not like 100% like musically accurate, but for me it's just reminding me in the future to go back on this stuff and remember how I structured it. So yeah, that kind of thing. I think that will work really well, and again, it's a groove that I can develop, and I have some ideas and vocabulary of things to integrate into that to build it into something else, whatever that might be. So yeah, that's kind of the process of what I do in these early initial stages of coming up with a solo, just trying to get ideas out. And as I mentioned, it's try and be like don't be too judgmental about the ideas that you get out on paper. At this stage, it's just about reminding yourself of things that you can do and things that might be enjoyable for the audience and challenging for you, and just getting it all out there. And then later on, you can filter through it later. So once I have kind of a bit of a list of ideas of grooves and maybe specific kind of licks or things that I want to integrate into the solo, I'll isolate each one of them and kind of practice them with a click track. So that's really beneficial just to make sure that your time is going to be really solid with this kind of solo thing, because as I said, you're not accompanied by anything. So if your time is not great in the solo context, like you think you can get away with it to some degree, but it also like it doesn't sound that groovy. And for me anyway, I like drum solos that have some kind of groove and kind of steadiness to them. So yeah, it's really important to play some of the solo ideas with a click. And then also for anything that's like choppy or a bit kind of technical, it's a good chance for you to like slow that down and really make sure it's ingrained in your muscle memory, so that when you do kind of get into performance mode and the adrenaline's kicking in, and you maybe push things a little bit harder than you would in a practice room, that like technically you've got it kind of under your hands a lot. So yeah, there's a little thing that I do, like a stick spin lick. So I'll break that down very slowly and play it with the click over and over again, just to make sure that it's really like dialed in the muscle memory, and I'm not going to get too tripped up in performance mode. So yeah, that's kind of the next stage of where I go with things, isolating each individual idea and just playing it a bunch over and over again. It's also a good chance then for you to feel and hear whether you think the idea is going to actually work in a solo context. As I said in the beginning, you just want to get as many ideas out as you can, and then the process of kind of isolating each one of them individually and playing them, you'll get to have a sense of like, do I like this? Do I think I can develop it into something? Is it just kind of a lick that I'm not really sure how to integrate with other things? Then you can start to like scrap things away that you really don't think are going to work in that kind of context. But that's kind of the next stage of developing this kind of solo. So the next stage that I go through once I have a solid list of ideas that I'm comfortable playing and I've worked on a little bit, is just kind of having one main list and figuring out the rough lengths of time that I might play each idea for. So as a rough guide, I mean, a solo of about 5 to 6 minutes, I would say from past experience that like having 3 different ideas groove-wise and 3 different climactic points that you want to aim for is probably a good kind of blueprint to go from. In my experience anyway, it's kind of allowed an idea to develop and have some shape to it, but also it's not the same thing over and over again. It's still got momentum and kind of development throughout the whole solo itself. So yeah, 3 main kind of groove ideas and 3 climactic points, and then some transitions and things you might want to do in between as well. But yeah, I'll put like a stopwatch on at this point, because as I said, like you are, the constraints I have with this kind of thing is of 5 to 6 minutes. So you do have to be conscious of that, and it is a constraint, quote unquote. But yeah, because it is a show and things have to kind of roughly be the same time, night to night, you have to be conscious of that. And I'm not going to be sitting up there on stage with a stopwatch, watching it to see when I have to finish or move on to the next idea. It's really about knowing, like, within your hands and your body, like what a minute feels like when you're playing a certain idea and how it needs to grow and develop and shape itself. So that's kind of a thing in itself that you have to work on, because yeah, sometimes in the past you think that you've gone through 5 minutes of solo and it's only like 3 minutes or something like that, or the opposite, where you're having the best time up there and people are like, come on dude, you've been playing for like 20 minutes. You have to kind of be conscious of that as well. So yeah, I'll put the stopwatch on, start playing some ideas, and then realize like, okay, that's been 2 minutes of that. So that means that I have to kind of shape it in this particular way. Same with like the climactic points, kind of roughly knowing how, long I can maybe play a certain idea before it gets like a little bit, either physically tiring or like tiring to listen to. Just to get an idea and then start to write down maybe 1 minute of this particular groove and then transition into this, and then maybe 30 seconds of this kind of groove. So at this stage, it is a little bit kind of technical in that sense. But over time of you working on this and having an idea of how you're going to shape the solo, you'll start to actually feel what that's like and not have to be so conscious of like 51 seconds, 52 seconds, I'm going to transition soon, that kind of thing. You'll just be able to feel it a little bit more naturally. So yeah, that's kind of the next stage I go through. And then you can start to actually like have that 5 to 6 minute solo block roughly in place. Once you get to that point, it's really just about refining and tweaking the ideas and practicing the thing, as a whole. It's like something that you piece together, one little thing at a time. At the end of the day, you want it to be, as a whole, like a really enjoyable performance. You don't want it to feel like, here's an idea, here's an idea, here's an idea. So the transitions are very important, and the way that you build and shape and develop ideas is really important. So that's just something that only kind of comes at this later stage when you've got all your ideas there, you roughly know the timings you want to play them for, and the points that you're aiming for with certain climaxes. So it is a very important stage, especially for this show that I'm about to be a part of, as I said, which is quite time structured. Another thing that's kind of helped me develop the solo in the past when I'm away from the kit is kind of doing like visualizations of what you want it to feel like and sound like as a whole kind of performance. That really does help, with the energy side of it, imagining the kind of energy that you want in the room at certain points of the solo. I'm imagining like when I start the solo, it'll be something quite sparse and something kind of more soundscape-y rather than like straight into a groove kind of thing. I want it to kind of build from the start, so I want the energy in the room to be a little bit more I don't know, like suspenseful and not really knowing where things are going to develop to, because if you kind of come out just playing a groove, that's totally cool, but it's just kind of not what I am imagining for this particular thing. So imagining like what you want people to feel and how you want it to be represented in the room is a really cool thing that you can do away from the drums to help when you come back to actually practicing the solo as a whole. You can kind of channel that energy a little bit more, and it might help develop some ideas in a different way than just thinking about the technical notes that you're trying to execute and get out there. So it's definitely something that has helped me. Along with this, when you do get to these final stages of developing things, obviously it's really important and useful to record yourself, filming wise as well as audio wise. But filming wise is probably going to be a really important thing for me, because it's going to be, like I said, on stage. It's a featured moment. There's flashing lights and smoke and blah blah blah, all that stuff. So you want to look like you're having a good time with it as well, and not just in your own head trying to just like execute chops. Like it's got to be from an audience point of view something they can like sit back and go like, wow, this is really cool. I'm having a great time. It's exciting and engaging and all that kind of thing. So big part of developing a solo in this particular context is going to be filming and watching and analyzing and refining. And then even at this stage, like even though you think you've got all of your ideas there and everything's good and you're happy with it, watching it back you might think, actually that idea doesn't work very well, or it's not coming across the way I want it to. So then you can go back on your initial earlier ideas and maybe try something else. But it's important to do that and to go through those stages, because you might, as I said, think that something is coming out a certain way and it's really just not reaching the audience with the intention that you want. So be open to that and don't be hard on yourself. Just think, okay, this is not right for this moment. I'll try something else, and then and work on it from there. So that's kind of going to be my next stage. I'm still coming up with ideas of my own. I'm on YouTube a bunch, checking out other drum solos and seeing what might be cool to integrate. Not that I want to rip anyone off like directly, but at the same point, it's about being inspired by all different kinds of things. I'm watching drum solos now, not necessarily to rip chops off, but to, as I said before, maybe like the shape of a solo or the energy of certain parts, like space in a solo. That's huge, and it can be really useful and beneficial to use in a solo, like especially with drums, where we feel sometimes this necessity to just fill it up with notes. Leaving space can be so impactful. Watching solos for where people use space, and even sounds that they use, using a specific stack or tom or something like that, tuning wise might be like, oh yeah, I could use that specific thing, not like, oh, I really like that double bass drum lick that he's doing. That's fine, but it's just not what I'm kind of drawing on for inspiration at the moment. So look at other solos online, but more on a context of inspiration from not just the notes they're playing, but the shape, the dynamic, the sounds, the energy, that kind of stuff, not just the chops. So I think we'll leave it there for today. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video, a bit of an insight into the process that I'm going through literally right now, today, tomorrow, for the next few days of trying to come up with a solo that I'm going to be performing with a new show. I know, as I said in the beginning, it can be a daunting and intimidating thing if someone just gives you a platform to play a solo, but hopefully some of the ideas and techniques and approaches that I've discussed today have helped you and given you some ways to maybe reapproach coming up with a solo if you're ever in that position. But as always, I want to hear what you guys and girls are doing. If you've recently played a solo, put a link in the comments below. I'd love to check it out. If you've got your own ideas about how you come up with structuring something like this, which is quite, unique and individual, in terms of music performance. It's not kind of something that you will necessarily see every day in mainstream kind of entertainment, but it is, sometimes something that we're required to do, like I am right now. So I really love to hear how you guys and girls are kind of coming up with ideas for your solos, as well as I'm sure the rest of the drumming community who checks out this platform would appreciate as well. But I think we'll leave it there for today. Thank you so much once again for checking out this video. Please don't forget to head on over to drummersperspective.com and sign up to the mailing list. I'll see you next time on Drummer's Perspective.